Hello everyone, my name is Adrian, but you may know me as Lern Jergi. And today I'm here to present my top 5 underrated Danganronpa characters. So of course, these are just my personal opinions. You may have your own ideas of who might be underrated or maybe even think my picks are overrated. But again, that's fine. These are just my own points of view. Anyway, let's proceed. So now, starting at the bottom, we have the ultimate cook, or rather, the ultimate chef, Teru Hanamura. So for Teru, just as a precursor, I'm not gonna sit here and try to justify his habit of basically sexually harassing others or anything. That stuff is definitely screwed up. Though I will say, there is an implied reason behind him doing this. I was looking into his character discussion thread from the Danganronpa subreddit and found something brought up by Reddit user Captain Foxy. In Teru's free time events, he mentioned living in a family comprised of a grief-stricken mother and frightened young siblings who were born to different mothers. Basically, his father abandoned his family after leaving Teru's mother to care for his children. Still going off of Captain Foxy's analysis on him, Teru essentially had to become the man of the house to help his mother keep the family together. The problem with this is that his sleazy father who went around sleeping with countless women was the only male figure he could take example from. I never understood why so many people loved Miyu despite her being more or less just as perverted as Teru, yet condemned him for the same attitude. The most memorable thing for me from Danganronpa 2's first trial wasn't the Nagito shenanigans. In my opinion, it was Teru's breakdown and motive that was the most memorable. To tell the truth, I've never known my own father. My mom has raised me as a single parent, so I could honestly relate a lot to Teru's motive. All he wanted was to go home and see his mother. Make sure she's okay. But at the end of it all, he didn't even get to know what happened to her at the very least. It was only then that he realized that
I think I'm the one who went crazy.
now, sitting at number 4, we have the ultimate traditional dancer, Hioki Saionji. Okay, I will admit, Hiyoko was definitely annoying. I'm pretty sure that's the truth no matter which way you spin it. Also, her bullying was definitely a bit much at times. However, some people, at least initially, myself included, don't usually think about things like why she bullies others to begin with. But if you think about it, barely anyone even tried to stop her in the game. I can honestly say that I've been the Hiyoko in one way or another myself in school sometimes. In my own point of view, I could be a morally upright person, but people would still end up telling me sometimes that they have a problem with my attitude. People are inherently imperfect. Because of this, if these imperfections are not discovered for yourself, you wouldn't even think there's a problem. Mahiru became Hiyoko's main form of guidance in Danganronpa 2 while she was still alive. Despite this, I can't even remember a single time she's tried to stop her. She's never tried to say anything to get Hiyoko to stop the wrong that she's doing. In any case, though this may not justify her bullying, it should at least give it some sort of explanation. Also, I think Hiyoko's actually one of the most real characters in Danganronpa 2. She tried getting along with people at the start of Chapter 3 after Mahiru's death. That alone is very admirable if you ask me, but nobody really acknowledges that too much. She tried to change, but when Nekomaru got shot by Monokuma when he tried to save Akane, that's when she realized that getting along with others is just sometimes not worth it. And honestly, that's a sentiment I can definitely understand.
No! this? You uggo! Shut up! You. Hey! That is...
In the end, Hiyoko was a misguided and broken girl who got robbed of a proper character arc. She was one of the most real characters in the series, and I may not like her as a person, but she was definitely a decent character for me. Next up, for the spot of number 3, we have the ultimate idol, Sayaka Maizono. I've always personally found that Sayaka is a thought joke annoying at times. Sure, it could be funny, but other times you've got people legitimately just dismissing her as that thought who betrayed Makoto. But if you really get to know her, she's one of the sweetest girls in the franchise. She's a famous idol who, despite her popularity, remains humble and just wants to get along with her classmates. This may not be evident to some, which may be due to them forgetting the situation that these children have been put in. These were innocent teenagers who were taken away from their loved ones and trapped in a killing game. The life of an idol isn't easy, believe it or not. If an idol found out that her bandmates were in danger, that the life she's worked so hard to build up to at this point is at risk, sometimes the last thing you do is think rationally, especially in a stressful situation like being in a killing game. I believe her case is actually quite similar to Teruteru's in a way. Due to unfortunate circumstances, a normally non-violent person was driven to murder, believing that life as they know it is at risk of being thrown away if they don't do anything to get out. I put Sayaka this high on my list because I think she's one of the characters who gets the most unjustified hate. Like, there are literally other more objectively villainous characters like Koreki or Mukuro that seem to get more love than her. For me, Sayaka is more than just some traitor. She's just a human who, if you really get to know her through her free time events or the talent development plan, she's just a sweet and caring girl who fell victim to despair. And she's not that bad looking either. Taking the second place for my list at number 2 is Hope Boy himself, Makoto Naegi. Now for an entry who literally did nothing wrong. Unpopular opinion here, but I actually preferred Makoto as a protagonist compared to Hajime. I think what drew me closer to Makoto compared to Hajime was that I always felt Makoto was more caring towards his classmates than him. He's just a sweet and genuine ball of purity that I don't see a lot of people give him credit for. In Chapter 5, he was even willing to risk everything to protect Kyoko, who had just been giving him the cold shoulder for an entire chapter. He was even supposed to be executed for it if it weren't for Alter Ego. And honestly, I see Makoto as the most self-sacrificial protagonist in the series. In Danganronpa IF, he literally threw himself in the way of Gungnir spears to save someone who was clearly untrustworthy. He had an idea that this Junko wasn't who she said she was, but he risked his life for her anyway simply because they were classmates. This little thing that touched me even more was that while he was still barely recovering from his injuries, Mukuro returned to them, but his first reaction was just of concern to her. He wasn't complaining or angry, he was just relieved that his classmate was okay. And my love for him just became even stronger come Danganronpa 3. He became this sort of Mr. Steal Your Girl badass in the anime in my opinion. He figured out things on his own, like Munakata's NG code for example. And he put his life on the line for the sake of everyone else when he announced his NG code to everyone. He even tested out the potentially suicide-inducing brainwashing videos himself. And when Munakata chased him and caught up to him, that was one of the most memorable scenes in the future arc for me. I've never felt so amazed by Makoto before. And going back to that chase scene, these lines that Makoto said were one of the most memorable things he's ever said for me. They were just so heartfelt and heartbreaking as well. Megumi Ogata really dished out an amazing performance for Makoto.
お前に何がわかる何がわかるわかる僕はもしキリギリさんが絶望でみんなを裏切っていて止めるには殺すしかなかったとしてどんなことになったってキリギリさんに会えてよかったって思うから。
Makoto Naegi turned out to be someone who can take charge of a situation when nobody else would. But most importantly, Monokuma said it best.
Who is he? Simply put, he's Makoto Naegi, who's known for being a cutie patootie!
And finally, the #1 spot for my underrated Danganronpa characters list is the one and only, the magical miracle girl Usami, or Monomi. Monomi definitely doesn't get nearly as much credit as she deserves. From what I've seen, the way she's treated in-game is painfully similar to how she's treated in real life. She just gets dismissed as annoying or useless, when in reality, she could be a beacon of hope if given the chance. Despite being constantly dismissed by her own students, she still tries to do her best to help them and keep them safe. Monomi was more than willing to put her life on the line to take down Monokuma to stop his killing game. In the 5th trial at one point, Monokuma started relentlessly beating up Monomi. Despite this, her look of determination did not waver. After so much that she, as well as her students, had been through throughout the entire killing school trip, she decided that it was time. It was time for her to finally give her all to protect her students. However, it ended up not being enough. Chiaki was found guilty, and she was to be executed alongside her. But before that was to happen, Monomi gave parting words to her beloved students. Those parting words, to this day, remain as one of the most inspiring lines from the franchise that I can think of.
I'm sorry. I couldn't protect you to the very end. Just one last time, let me say something that makes me sound like a teacher. There's no need to be a hero. You don't have to force yourself just to make people acknowledge you. When you do that, you end up blaming yourself, blaming other people, and feeling jealous of everyone. But still, it doesn't have to be like that. Even if people don't acknowledge you, you just have to be someone that you can be proud of. 'Cause you yourself are your biggest supporter. If you can learn to love yourself, that love will continue to support you for the rest of your life. Love, love.
I put her on top of my list because she was personally one of the most impactful characters in the series for me. Specifically, it's because of her inspiring words that a friend of mine, who sometimes has really rough times, even repeats those lines to himself whenever he feels down. It's really no wonder though. During times a person like him or Hajime struggle to find self-worth, or if they feel alone, Monomi's words are able to give them the reassurance that they need. This reassurance reminds them that they themselves are their biggest supporter. I can't think of any other character in Danganronpa who's more deserving of recognition than the teacher none of us deserve, Magical Miracle Girl Usami, aka Usami.